loved ones in your absence. Yeah, remember that Allianz Life. We find every possible reason to pay your claims. So speak to us about customizing the Allianz Term Life Plan to suit your family's needs. For more information, you can call us on 0302-267892 or you can visit our website www.allianz-gh.com. Allianz Life, we secure your future.
Drivetime on Joy with Lexis Bill.
And our Drivetime is proudly brought to you by MTN. Choose your own bundle your own way with MTN Flexi Bundle. You can dial *138# and enjoy bundles that don't expire. TCL, the creative life. Betika Ghana. Play with the champions. You know, everyone is unique on MTN, and that's why we're rewarding you this new year with mouth-watering daily data offers. Just buy data bundle and use data and get rewarded for being such an awesome data customer. You can dial *141# to redeem your special reward of 500 megabytes and other unique offers. Just because we're good together. Terms and conditions apply. We there for you everywhere you go. And the best sports book in Africa is now live in Ghana. Betika. Oh yes, bet with us and enjoy 100% of your first deposit amount as bonus. You can create your own winning combinations with Betika's Fabum Bete. And with only 50 Ghana pesos, you can win up to 1,000 Ghana cedis in our Fala Daily Jackpot. Yeah, Betika means more Sika. So sign up on www.betika.com.gh and enjoy unbeatable odds. Betika, play with the champions. Registered by the Gaming Commission of Ghana and not for persons below the age of 18, okay? Thanks to Betika, we bring you our Drive Chat, and this afternoon we speak to Dr. Yaw Osafo, CEO of Medical Hospital, right after this.
Look at you, the big boss.
You know they hear.
You know they fear who?
Until somebody says, I will tell your mother.
That's why we say wear a mask.
Or else?
We will call your mother.
Hey, why are you disgracing me? Why your marks?
Wear it for her. Wear it for me everywhere you go. MTN.
Play with the champions and monetize your shouts with Betika, because Betika means more Sika for you. Betika gives you more options to win on casino and virtuals every day. I mean every day. Fan of Fala with just 50 pesos, you can win 1,000 Ghana cedis in our Fala Daily Jackpot. Enjoy 100% of your first deposit amount as bonus on betika.com.gh. Boosted odds, yazo, and you can create your own winning combinations with Fabum Bete. It doesn't get any better than this. Betika means more Sika, so Beti Nedisika. Play with the champions on betika.com.gh. This advert has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly. Gaming can be addictive. Not for persons below 18 years.
That's right. This is our Drive Chat here on Joy 99.7 FM. We get talking, and this afternoon, of course, the Drive Dr. Yaw Osafo, CEO of Medical Hospital, joins me via Zoom. I can see his very lovely head, headless head, actually. Hairless head. Hello, Dr. Osafo. Good afternoon. Hello, Doc. Can you hear me?
Kwame.
All right.
Yes,
Yeah.
Kwame, I can hear you.
All right.
Yeah.
How you doing? How you doing? I can
How
see
is
you
it?
actually on Zoom as well, and that's nice to see you. Ah, you be fine, boy, small.
Oh, I mean, you small if you are.
Mean you small
Just
if
say
you
you be fine, boy. That's okay. You small if you are.
Anyway, so last week we started the conversation on cervical cancer. You gave us some real good information that a lot of people
Right.
found very useful. Today we continue the conversation, don't we?
Yes. So, good afternoon to all our listeners. And last week, as you rightly pointed out, we started the conversation on cervical cancer. January every year globally is Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. A bit late in the day, but we're trying to do the same thing we've done with breast cancer, Pink October. So, unfortunately, with all this pandemic, a lot of important diseases are not given the needed attention. But day in, day out, people still continue to come to the hospital with strokes, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and cervical cancer, unfortunately. So we started the conversation last week. Obviously, we couldn't exhaust everything. So the plan was to continue this week and focus mainly on the screening and prevention and therapy, screening and then, or prevention rather, and therapy options available. But let's do a quick recap of what we discussed last week. And let me start with the key facts. I did mention last week that cervical cancer is the leading and most common female cancer in Ghana. Globally, it is the fourth most common cancer in women. In 2018, an estimated 570,000 women were diagnosed with cervical cancer worldwide. So it is unfortunately a terrible disease, and unfortunately the numbers are higher than would prefer. Last week again, I mentioned that this disease comes about primarily as an infectious disease. It is a form of sexually transmitted infection, and there's a virus that is responsible, and it is called HPV, human papilloma virus. There are so many different types of this human papilloma virus. So far, we know about 115 different types of the virus that have been identified. But over 90% of all the cases are caused by eight types. And so we've given them numbers to represent the various types. Types 16 and 18, 31, 33, 35, 45, 52, and 58. These are the 8 out of the 115 that we know will cause cervical cancer. The other forms are responsible for things like genital warts, and then some other types of cancers in the mouth, in the throat, and other parts of the body. I also did mention that the presence of the virus is not the only factor, but then there are other factors, environmental factors such as smoking and some nutritional deficiencies or conditions, host conditions like a poor nutritional status leading to a lower than normal immunity. It's also a risk factor. Last week also, we looked at the risks of getting the disease. And we said that human papilloma virus is sexually transmitted. So if you're a woman and you have multiple sexual partners, then you are increasing your chances of getting human papilloma virus, one of these 8 types that I mentioned. If you're a woman and you have a single partner and your partner has multiple sexual partners, then you are exposed to all of those women as well. And those women may have different types of human papilloma virus, and then you also pick up as well. So you need to be a bit thorough here. And I think the women already like to do that, being thorough when they want to agree to a man's proposal. They do the background checks. So this may be a legitimate medical reason for them to do the background checks, which they do clandestinely anyway. So that's by way of recap. I'm sorry. I did mention that abnormal vaginal bleeding, vaginal discomfort, especially during sex, offensive vaginal discharge, and burning pain on urination are some of the common physical symptoms that we see. So that's by way of recap. So let's look at the prevention strategies for cervical cancer. Although it is one of the very few curable cancers, we still don't want people to get it because of late presentation. In Ghana and in our part of the world, our health-seeking habits are not what we want them to be. So late presentation of disease across board, whether it's diabetes or breast cancer or cervical cancer, we tend to see late presentation. So we want to focus a lot more on the prevention strategies. And Kwame, they are twofold. We have the use of vaccines, and because we are all going through this pandemic at the moment, COVID-19 pandemic, I think right now, vaccines or the new term that people know about, medical term, vaccines or vaccinations, very, very common. Most people know about vaccines because of babies having to be immunized, when they go for what we call in Ghana the way.
Yeah.
So they need to be immunized. But vaccination is one of the pillars of prevention when it comes to cervical cancer. Unfortunately, the conversation around vaccination has been fraught with some moral difficulties. I don't see it, but I think it's only fair for me to bring it up. And maybe when we open the phone lines, we get different perspectives. So a vaccine is a way of preventing disease by either introducing a weakened or a killed form of the agent, the microbial agent that causes the disease.
Mm-hmm.
So if we take a weakened form of this virus and we introduce it into your body, it allows your immune system to produce antibodies in preparation to fight an infection that happens later on in future, a real infection. So that's the whole concept about vaccination. Of course, there are a lot of theories being put about there, conspiracy theories, about people wanting to do A or B, and that's why they've created vaccines. But we've got a very, very rich history of vaccinology as well. So there are 2 vaccines currently available when it comes to cervical cancer. So, Kwame, if you look at the statistic that we threw up there, the number of women who are suffering from cervical cancer in this country and globally, and to think that there's a vaccine, and that if you give this vaccine at the right time in an individual's life, you actually protect them from this particular disease condition. So I look at it in that context. So the 2 vaccines are called Cervarix and then Gardasil.
Okay.
The Cervarix vaccine, which is very common, has or contains 2 different forms of the HPV virus, the 2 notorious ones. So I did mention that 8 of these known viruses, or the human papilloma viruses, are responsible for all the cases. But then we also know that about 90%, as high as 90%, are caused by type 16 and 18. So this vaccine contains type 16 and 18, the weakened form of it.
Okay.
And you usually will get 3 doses. So the day you come in for it, we call it day 0. Then 1 month later, you get a second dose. And then 6 months later, you get your 3rd dose. So currently, those who've been paying attention, watching what's going on there, the coronavirus vaccine, it's 2 doses. Everybody gets 2 doses, 21 days apart. So every vaccine has got its own schedule. And this, we believe, it's able to give you adequate protection if you get all these 3 doses for the first vaccine that I talked about.
Okay.
Now, what are some of the controversies? Well, the vaccine is given at an early age, 9 years. Why 9 for both boys and girls? Why 9 years? Well, that's the current age of onset of puberty, not only in Ghana, but then globally as well. So 9 years. Why are we targeting puberty? Well, when puberty starts, it comes along with it secondary sexual characteristics. So then people start becoming aware sexually. They start having hormones flying all over the place. And therefore they start getting an interest in sexual activities. Remember I mentioned that this is an STI. This is a sexually transmitted infection, which then leads to cancerous changes or precancerous certain changes in the cervix of the woman. Then eventually the
Okay, there seems to be a little bit of a challenge with Doctor's Network. Doc, I don't know whether you can hear me, but I think your network is failing a little bit, but we'll try and connect with you on phone as well so you can continue the conversation on cervical cancer. If you have questions, though, for Dr. Osafo, please send them through on our WhatsApp. That's 055 1111997. Okay, 055 1111997. Doc, sorry about that. The network was a little terrible.
Right. Okay. So can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
All right. I don't know exactly where I lost you, but I was talking about the controversy with the Cervical vaccine.
Yes.
And that it is given very early on at age 9.
Yeah.
This, we believe, is the age of the onset of puberty currently. Most pubertal changes start at around 9 years now for both boys. Boys a bit later, around 11 or 12 years. But with the onset of puberty, you have secondary sexual characteristics. You start having sex hormones.
Hello?
Sorry, am I with you again?
Yes. Yeah, with me. Go ahead.
So they start having producing a lot of sex hormones and therefore become interested in sexual activity. So the whole point about the vaccine is that you want to give it to the individual before they get an infection. And remember, this is a sexually transmitted infection.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to give it to them before the individuals become sexually active. And that is why we are giving it at an early age. In Ghana, boys would say around 12 years, but girls, onset of puberty between 9 and 11 years. The controversy is that some individuals believe that we empower the individuals, or we encourage, quote unquote, we encourage these teenagers to become sexually active or promiscuous if we vaccinate them, and then they have this false sense of security, thinking that it's not just this particular STI that they are protected against, but then they are protected against all STIs, and therefore vaccinating children or teenagers, individuals in that age group, sends the wrong kind of signal. So that's where the controversy is, not the arguments I've heard being put out by some of my colleagues. Respectfully, I don't support that position. I looking at what this disease, does to the individual. If there is a vaccine that can prevent it, I'd rather get the vaccine with education of the child rather than denying the child the vaccine. And teenage pregnancy still happens in this country. The statistics are not great in most parts of the country, probably. So the reality, we can look at the reality and say, well, we are not promoting promiscuity among that age group, but rather for purely medical reasons, we are giving them the vaccine. So that's the conversation about the vaccine. Now, the other strategy for prevention is screening.
Mm-hmm.
Screening. So you hear probably a lot about screening, and then the pap smear is something that most people too will be familiar with. Pap is a shortened form of a very long word named after a very talented Greek doctor who first discovered it. But then the pap smear is a much more sophisticated test where we take some of the tissue around the cervix, inside of it and around it, and send it to a pathologist to have a look under a microscope and give us a report about early changes in the cells of the cervix so that the right interventions can be put in place. However, it is relatively more expensive. I mean, a pap smear will cost anywhere between 150 cedis and 500 cedis, depending on, which facility that you go into. There is a cheaper option, which is called a VIA, visual inspection with acetic acid.
Okay.
Kwame, do you remember your biochemistry or your chemistry from secondary school?
No.
Somebody that I was going to recommend you to coach the this year's National Science and Maths. Right. So
General Mosquito has that slot already. So.
Vinegar. The kitchen vinegar.
Yeah.
Right. So it's that simple and readily available.
Yeah.
So a visual inspection. So we're going to look. The woman is positioned such that the cervix is visible when we pass the device for the speculum.
and then you apply the acetic acid to areas of the cervix, and then you sit and you wait for a color change. You will see bright white spots showing up if you have precancerous or even cancerous changes of the cervix. So, Kwame, this one can be done anywhere, because if you go to, my small hometown of Boso in the eastern region, you surely you will find a vinegar in someone's kitchen. And the rest of it is getting a table high enough and a seat comfortable enough to be able to position a woman. So really it can be done. Of course, we need a little bit of training for the healthcare professionals. And nurses can be trained to do it. Doctors can be trained to do it. Midwives can be trained to do it. So it is really a simple, inexpensive test with very, very good, sensitivity for screening. And it was pioneered in this country. So I think Rich Hospital also did it. But currently, I know that there's a training center at the Bator Catholic Hospital, manned by Dr. Kofi Efa, who's doing fantastic job of training a lot of people. I had the opportunity to send some of my staff over to him to their training center at the Catholic Bator Catholic Treatment Center. Okay. And once you have that basic training, then you can safely and accurately do the visual inspection. Okay. So that all those with suspicious lesions can be further investigated. Okay. So, based on the results of either the pap smear or the VIA, then we have a certain schedule that we follow. Women who are between 21 and 29 years, we would recommend that they have the pap test done alone every 3 years. Every 3 years. You should have the pap test done if you are between 21 and 29 years. We don't recommend HPV testing for the virus itself in that age group. Women aged 30 to 65 years should have a pap test and an HPV test, co-testing every 5 years. Okay. Right. So that's the schedule if you are using the pap smear. All right. If you are using the VIA, if you've done it properly and the person doing it has received adequate training, then we would say that if it is negative, then they would recommend yearly screening for the VIA up to age 45. Right. All right. And if everything is normal, then we can do it every 3 years thereafter. Okay. After 65 years, we don't recommend that you do a pap smear unless you begin to show symptoms, some of the physical symptoms that I discussed earlier. So, Kwame, these are the two preventive strategies that we have for cervical cancer. Okay. The use of the vaccine, which is in Ghana, and the screening program. Okay. Doc, thank you so much. I think now we have all the information we need to protect ourselves from this cervical cancer, right? And probably get treatment as well. Right. Sorry. So, unfortunately, a few women would test or would have had advanced disease or would develop cervical cancer. There are still treatment options. And what your doctors would do, the gynecologists would do, is to actually stage the disease. And depending on the stage of the disease, there is appropriate therapy. Okay. There can be surgery, chemotherapy, radiation therapy. All exist as treatment options, but it depends on the stage of the disease. Okay. Now, I'm sure some ladies have personal issues they would want to address or they would want to contact the team at Medicas. How can they reach you? Right. Before I give out the number, though, I'd like to mention that we have a screening program in place, the VIA, and then the pap smear. So those who are interested, when you visit your medical hospital, you can get your pap smear done or your VIA also done. Those who want to reach out, the number is 0501 477 340. 0501 477 340. All right, Dr. Osafo, thank you so much. We're grateful. You're welcome, God bless Kwame. You and keep you safe as well. All right. Thank you, Kwame.
Dr. Yaw Osafo is the CEO of Medicas Hospital, and you have all the information you need about cervical cancer. We've been talking about it for 2 weeks, so that's good enough, right? If you want to find out more, you can get onto the Medicas Hospital Facebook page, Medicas GH on Instagram as well, and speak to Dr. Yaw Osafo and his team. He's the CEO of Medicas Hospital. Thank you so much, Doc. God bless you. And as always, our Drive Time is proudly brought to you by MTN, TCL, and Betika. Play with the champions. But despite what's going on around the world, love would